As I always do, I've been following the political debates. I've done this every year since I was old enough to vote and before. And I'm going to show a few clips from the debate. And I am primarily speaking to Black Americans. I want you to pay attention because we all know that for decades, the majority of Black Americans have been on the Democratic plantation. We overwhelmingly, as a voting bloc, as a group, vote Democratic. I've never been on that plantation. I have always been, I won't even say bipartisan. I'm independent. And I already know how I'm going to vote this year. Same way I voted last year. I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for Barack Obama twice. I thought he was a better candidate than John McCain and Sarah, are you kidding me, Palin. I thought that he was a better candidate than Mitt Romney. I gave Mitt Romney a chance. I did not want to vote for Barack Obama the second time, but I did because I simply felt he was better than the opponent. It was going to be one of those two. So I held my nose and voted for Barack Obama a second time. The easiest decision I've ever made politically was to vote for Donald Trump over Hillary, the witch, Clinton. And if anyone knows as much as I know about that woman, and they would vote for her anyway, something is seriously wrong with you. But hey, that's your choice. But for those who are on the Democratic plantation, I want you to see what your beloved Democrat politicians have to say about you. Because they take you for granted, because they know they're going to get your vote, they completely ignore you because they know you're going to fall in lockstep with the Democratic candidate, whoever they put in front of you. Because you bought into this false narrative that somehow they love you, when basically they love your vote. And they've got it. They already know it. And the proof of that is in the fact that you are completely ignored. One question was raised that directly was related to you Black Americans. One. And I want you to see how it was responded to. And I want you to remember this. You're probably going to vote however you're going to vote anyway, which is for a Democrat, because it's almost like you're hypnotized. But I want you to pay attention to this. And if you have an inkling of intelligence, you're going to feel stupid for not calling them out for this. It shows clearer than anything how they always have felt about you. A question was asked of a politician, basically about reparations for people that are not even American citizens. You have candidates saying that if elected, they're going to immediately give them reparations. And guess where that reparations money is coming from? For those of you who, and this doesn't apply to those of you who are on the public dole, you've never done anything your whole damn life other than to be a blood-sucking leech. But for those of you who pay your taxes, it comes out of your pocket. They want to take money out of Black America's pocket and give it to foreigners who are not even American citizens. Reparations, you can call it what you want, but that's what it is. But then the question was asked about your black asses. Reparations. And I want you to see the response, particularly from the man that I know was going to be the front runner and the Democratic nominee. I know it beyond a doubt. And that's Joe Grab-Ass Biden. Joe, the guy that loves touching little girls and little boys inappropriately. Biden. And that's who most of you are going to vote for. But I want you to see how he feels about you. Because the mainstream media is going to ignore this. But I'm going to let you see it for yourself. But first, I want you to watch this.
Mayor Buttigieg. A new question to you, Mr. Mayor. You said last month that the U.S. owes compensation to children separated from their families at the southern border. The consensus among child welfare experts is that those thousands of children will likely suffer lifelong trauma as a result of that separation. Are you committing, as president, to financial compensation for those thousands of children?
Yes, and they should have a fast track to citizenship.
Let me stop right there. I'll let you hear the rest of it. But without reservation or hesitation, he said, yes, they deserve financial compensation because they were separated at the border. Let's recall what we are talking about. We are talking about their criminal parents committing a criminal act, and something that happens to Black Americans, white Americans, and every other American every single day. When we who are American citizens commit crimes and we are arrested, what happens? Do the children go to jail with us when we are arrested? No, they are separated from us. They snatch our babies out of our arms and they say, sir or ma'am, you are under arrest. So we're going to separate you from your children. Every single time a person is arrested, they are separated from their children. But this is the narrative they use to try to vilify it as though there's something wrong when their parents are committing a criminal act, trying to sneak into my country illegally, without an invitation, without any ties to this country, trying to sneak in here so they can get on the public dole, most of them, which is what they do. And then they get arrested at the border. They basically spin this narrative that, hey, we're separating the children from their parents. It's so wrong. Oh, my God. And now they want to give them a reparations check. Your money, my money. Black Americans who love the Democratic Party. That's what they want to do. They want your black ass to write a check to give these illegal aliens, these foreigners, these people that have never paid a dime in taxes in this country. They are not American citizens. They are not beholden to this government. They have no constitutional protection whatsoever. They are not American citizens. We owe them nothing. We're actually way too polite to them. We're way too nice to them because they would not dare try to sneak into North Korea, South Korea, Russia, Japan, or any other country. They wouldn't do it. We are the world's laughing stock. But because we're not nice enough, if we don't separate, what are you kidding me? I mean, what do they want? Do they want both the parents and their children to be given the green light to sneak into this country? To be given free housing and food stamps and welfare and everything else, which is what they want, which is what they're coming here for in the first place. Free education, free everything else, free healthcare. That's what they're coming here for. Do we want them to basically say it's okay to sneak into our country? Well, if it's okay to sneak into the country, they shouldn't have to sneak into the country. Why don't we just not have a wall, not have a border, and just say, come one, come all. Everybody just come. Oh, and again, I'm speaking to you Black Americans. Have you noticed that your party, the Democrats, they feel this way about people from Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico? Do you honestly believe in your right mind that they would have the same cavalier attitude towards Black Haitians or Africans or Black anything sneaking into this country in droves? Sneaking into this country in droves. Do you actually think that they would look the other way and say it's okay if they were Black? This is your party. It's not my party. It's never been my party. And I want you to question that. Now you heard it. And if you didn't pay attention, then play it back because I'm not going to play it again. You heard what he said. It was a point blank question. It was a simple question. He gave a simple answer. Do you believe in giving a financial compensation to these illegal criminals? And that's what they are. And Donald Trump even got it wrong. He said some of them are criminals. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump. All of them are criminals. Is it against the law to come into the United States of America, to sneak into the United States of America without proper authorization and permission? Yes or no? It's either against the law or it's not. Anything that is against the law, anything that is a crime, that means that those who commit these acts that are a crime, they by definition and by default are criminals. So that means all of them are criminals. You are committing a crime. If a group of a dozen people break into my home, I'm not going to say some of them are criminals. By your mere presence, your mere illegal, unlawful entry into my home, all 12 of you are criminals. That means all 12 of you deserve to get shot by me if I so choose to do that. Because I don't know what your intent is. All of you are criminals. We're not going to say some of you are criminals. All of you are.
Because what the United States did under this president to them was wrong. We have a moral obligation to make right what was broken.
What the United States did under this president was wrong. We have a moral obligation to make what is right to these illegal aliens, these criminals. And they use words like undocumented immigrants. They are not immigrants at all. And for those of you who think that I sound like I hate immigrants, I want you to know that the woman that I love with all of my heart and all of my soul, my queen, my wife, is an immigrant, but she's not an undocumented immigrant. She's not an illegal immigrant. And her and I know what it takes to have lawful immigration. So I have nothing but disdain and vitriol towards those who think that they are privileged to violate the law and sneak into my country. More than 20%. Some have said 40%. But I'm going to go with the low number, over 20%. Let's just say 25. 1 out of 4 of the inmates in the California penal system are these illegal immigrants. Not only are we paying for them, not only are we paying to house and to warehouse them in prison, which is where they belong, but think about all of the numerous crimes that most of them committed even before they were ever incarcerated. This is what is happening. But back to you Black Americans. He's making it very clear they have been wronged and they need to be compensated. And then they're going to ask about your black asses, Black Americans, and watch what your party representatives have to say about you. And more importantly, what they don't say, particularly Joe Biden. Watch this.
And on the larger issue of immigration, my understanding of this issue isn't theoretical. It's not something I formed in committee rooms in Washington. It begins with the fact that my household, my family, came from abroad. My father immigrated to this country. We don't
care about you, dude.
And became a U.S. citizen. It comes from the fact that I'm the mayor of a city where neighborhoods that were left for dying are now coming back to life, largely because of the contributions, mainly of Latino immigrants.
The contributions, mainly of Latino immigrants.
Shut down. Families huddling in church, panicking just because of the rumor of an ICE raid. That did not make our country safer.
Could I respond?
Had to look into the eye.
They should be huddling in panic at the rumor of an ICE raid because they are criminals. Don't criminals typically scatter like cockroaches when they hear that the police are coming? How many American citizens are going to huddle in the shadows when they hear that ICE, the immigration officers, are coming through? We're not worried about it because we're not criminals. We are here legally. This is our country. This is our home. You think there's something wrong with the fact that they are huddling? See, you don't want them to huddle. You want them to say, oh, it doesn't matter. America's a joke. ICE is coming, but they're not going to do anything, even though we're here illegally, because America is the joke of the world. In any other country, we'd be very afraid, but we don't have to be afraid in America because they don't respect their own laws. So why should we respect them? And quite frankly, I don't blame them for taking that position. If we don't respect our own laws and our own borders, why the hell should anybody else respect them if we don't? Because we don't enforce them. But anyway, they're going to ask in a moment about you Black Americans. And I want you to remember this when you go vote in 2020.
Of an 8-year-old boy whose father was deported, even though he had nothing so much as a traffic ticket against.
The father was deported, even though he had nothing as much as a traffic ticket. Are you kidding me? If you came into my country illegally, am I going to say if you broke into my house illegally that as long as you didn't rape or kill anybody in my family or steal anything out of my cupboards or anything else, take anything that belongs to me. You just came here and you brought your own food and you're sitting on the floor. You're not even sitting your dirty ass on my couch. You're sitting on the floor eating your own tortillas and tacos or whatever you're eating. You know, and you're not taking my food, that you haven't committed a crime. And it's okay. It's okay, Julio. You're just sitting there eating your tacos. Even though you broke into my house, you can remain. I'm not going to deport you. I'm not going to kick you out. I'm not going to call the police. I'm not going to draw my gun on you, which is what's going to happen. Are you people insane? He had not committed even as much as a traffic ticket. And actually, that's not true. He had not been caught. Are you saying that he never ran a red light? He's a model citizen. I wouldn't give a damn if he was a perfect citizen. I wouldn't care. First of all, let me correct myself. He's not a citizen. He will always be an illegal immigrant. He's an alien. He doesn't belong here. I don't care what he does. He doesn't have the right to even breathe United States of America air. He doesn't. He doesn't have a right to cross that border unlawfully at all. But they don't feel the same way about you black Americans. You talk about children being separated from their parents and they deserve to be compensated. What about you black Americans who were separated from your parents and sold on the auction block with the full approval of the United States government? What about that? And I'm not advocating for a reparations check. I don't need a damn reparations check. I don't. I am not advocating for or against that. But this shows how they feel about you, who like puppets following the Pied Piper, like little rats following the Pied Piper into the creek. Every year when you do get out there and vote, you think you're supposed to vote for whatever Democratic nominee is on the ticket. And most of you don't even pay attention to the details. How many of you saw this debate? I already know I'm not voting for any of these clowns, but I watch it anyway. I always do. Every debate, I follow it. I watch the Republican National Convention, the Democratic National Convention, always do it. When I voted for Barack Obama, I was in another country, but yet and still I watched the entirety of the Republican National Convention. And I have news for you. When John McCain announced Sarah, are you kidding me, Palin, as his running mate, I had never heard her name. But before that convention was over, I had researched her and I immediately started working on a website. By the time that convention was over, my website was up, exposing Sarah Palin for who she was and what she was. And among other things, she was a pathological liar. Yes, she was. When she made that comment, I said, yes. I said, thanks, but no thanks to that bridge to nowhere. That was a lie. She stole that slogan from somebody else. She took the money and never built the bridge. I knew all of this before their convention was over, because that's how much. Oh, and I was already determined to vote for Barack Obama, but I gave them a chance. I always do. I am voting for Donald Trump, but I'll give you people a chance. I always do. I will be consistent. And this was a freak show. None of these people, none of them are qualified to be president of my country. But again, back to you black Americans, you're going to love this. I'm going to let him say the rest of what he has to say. Then we're going to hear from Joe Biden. And it is appalling.
It's his name. And try to think of something to tell that boy, because I couldn't tell him what he most wanted to hear, which is just that he was going to have his dad back. How can harming that young man possibly make America safe?
Because his father is a criminal thug who broke into my country.
I will make sure that this is a country of laws and of values.
Until they start sneaking in from Africa, then they're going to change.
Unspeakable, cruel practices at the border, but finally and truly fixing the immigration system that has needed a full overhaul since the 1980s. We cannot wait 4 years, 10 years. We cannot wait anymore to do something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up, since you do support compensation for those families,
black people, pay
should
attention.
the U.S. also compensate descendants of enslaved people? Do you support reparations for African Americans?